This is Stephanie. She's a business person, like you. Her company needed content, so she reached out to Skillman Video Group. The world of marketing changes constantly, and we have the resources, experience, and knowledge to change with it. Our services vary. We offer consultation on brand design and relaunches, web design and development, integrate SEO and social media content, provide multifaceted video production, including animation, and the development of marketing videos from concept to final product. All crafted to help tell the story of your business, from the office to the studio to the world beyond.
How many, after seeing that, would think we're a big production company in Boston? Few of you? Oh, okay. Because this business actually started out of my bed. So I thought today, how many here might be interested in starting your own business one day? Okay. So I just kind of thought today we might be able to talk a little bit about my career journey, and particularly about entrepreneurship, if some of you have interest in that, and particularly doing a business that is creative as well, and some of the challenges that you might face someday as you try to do that. So I went to Syracuse University. I got my degree in television, radio, film. And my first career choice was actually to go into cable access TV. A lot of people ask me, why didn't you want to do broadcast TV? Why didn't you want to do film? I didn't think it was good for my temperament, to be honest with you. And I always knew I wanted to have my own business in video production one day. So I think I was a little unusual than most people, because I've known I wanted to do this since I was 15. So I intentionally went to a smaller cable access TV station with the intention that I would get to do a lot of hands-on work. Which, if you went broadcast or the movies, you're just getting people coffee and filing paperwork. So I ended up getting a job in Billerica, Massachusetts, which was a station that was actually very well funded, had a lot of money, and they all had top-of-the-line video production equipment. So it gave me a chance to start producing stuff early on, to have it seen, to start networking within the community, to start trying different things. And to make a lot of mistakes, because when you're learning, you're first out of college, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. And this was a really safe environment for me to try new things, to not have them always work, but to try it again. And, you know, it's interesting because now if I make a mistake, it costs me a lot. I can't afford to make those mistakes. And when you're first out of school, you don't know a whole lot. You have a lot of theory maybe behind you, but like the actual practice of having to do what you learned is a completely different ballgame. So I really would encourage anyone who wants to have their own business one day to go get a job first. Don't stay there, but I think it's a good idea. You have to learn some things about life, about how to manage people, about how to manage your time. Eventually, I was aware that I worked in Billerica, Mass, and they were twinned with a town in England called Billericay. They're named after them. And my mother had said, that'd be a great idea to do a documentary about it someday. And I managed to pull together some resources. I happened to be friends with the president of the local cultural council in Billerica. And she encouraged me to apply for some town grants because I wanted to go do a documentary about this town over in England. And I didn't get the town grants, and it was devastating. I thought, oh, my idea, my dream of doing this documentary is over. But because I was friends with this woman at the Billerica Cultural Council, they ended up, I don't know what she did behind the scenes, but they actually ended up giving me the largest grant they've ever given anyone. So I want to encourage you, you need to have people like you. It will help you. So with this grant, as a young kid, I was in my 20s, early 20s, I was able to take me and a cameraman over there for 3 weeks. I had managed to make contacts over in England, and these people housed us. They drove us around. They gave us contacts. We knew who to interview. We went to their schools. We got to actually meet their member of parliament in the House of Commons in London. And I came back that summer, and I was still working full-time and working on this documentary in the evenings and weekends. And there was a delegation of 30 people from England that came over that fall. We had a big premiere. I had taken photos and had gallery showings and everything. So I stretched that grant money as far as I could. Because I knew I wanted to have my own business one day, and I knew this was like my only opportunity to have something of substance and value to show something. So, you really got to have foresight. Everything you do needs to have a big picture to it in the end. And I had people make little comments to me like, oh, it sounds like a nice vacation. Because they got a free trip to England, right? And I had to kind of slough it off because I knew this was going to be a foundation for me to take my career to the next level. And I had to have the ambition and I had to have the connections to kind of make that happen. And so we had the big premiere party, and a year later I ended up winning a national award for that documentary. And I remember telling a woman, I was at the award ceremony, and I was telling her, oh, someday I really want to have my own business in video production. But I wanted to be married at the time because I wanted my husband to pay all the bills while I did my job. And another piece of advice for you women in particular, she said, if you're waiting for a man, it's never going to happen. If you want to make this happen, go do it. So it took me another year to kind of work up the courage, but I did. I started posting on Craigslist, actually. And I had no equipment. I had no clients. I somehow just managed to convince people to hire me. And because I had this documentary, I could do that. I mean, I had some kind of track record. That's all I had. And what I did was I got a credit card with 0% interest, and literally working out of my bedroom in Somerville, Massachusetts. It took me 2 years doing it part-time. I didn't know anything about anything. I remember I had people asking me, are you going to be an LLC or an S Corp? And I said, what's that? I honestly didn't know what she was talking about. So even though those 2 years, to be honest, felt like an eternity, I had a lot to learn. So I encourage you, we all want things to happen like that, and sometimes it takes a little longer, but there's usually a reason. And there's a lot of lessons that I had to learn during that process. And by the end of 2006, it became very aware to me that either I was going to make this business a go, or it was going to stay kind of just a part-time job. Just be that way forever. And I had to take that leap of faith because I was giving up my salary. I was giving up that, any kind of security I had. And I have to tell you, it's never easy to do. But I knew it was either going to be now or never. And so it was on my birthday, actually, in early 2007. That was it. I was full-time, still in video group forever. And I had no guarantee that I was going to sink or swim. But 7 years later, I'm still here. And it took that huge leap of faith to kind of make, I can't even tell you the ways that my life changed because I was willing to just do it, to just try. And I might have failed. There's a very good chance that I could have failed. I didn't have investors, I didn't have rich, so it was all completely on my own. And I somehow, because I've always in my mind ran Skillman Video Group like a business. And this is something that for creative people is often very hard for them to understand. Most creative people just so happen to be in business because they have to be, but they really want to be doing their kind of creative art, their video, their art, their graphic design, whatever. And I've always considered myself not a creative person who happens to be in business, but a business person who happens to be creative. And that is a very different mindset going into it. Another thing that is important to point out is that video on the web even became possible. Now this was 2005, 2006, 2007. So Google just purchased YouTube. YouTube changed everything, in case you didn't know. And it made possible for businesses to put their videos on a website. Whereas before, if they ever wanted to do any marketing content, they had to put it on radio, they had to put it on TV, or they had to do print. Very expensive and very low cost of return on investment. Now for a fraction of that, you put it on your website and the whole world can see it. So another part about starting your business is timing. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if it's not the right time, the market's not ready for it, it's gonna fall flat. So I was very fortunate that I came along at the right place at the right time. And I was finding clients like Yamaha, which is the largest music company in the world, and I was still working out of my bedroom. You know how they found me? The internet. The internet, guys, has changed everything. If you have an idea, if you have a passion, this is the time for little people like us to give it a shot and get our name out there. Big companies, I did work for Gillette, and I was still working out of my home. And how did they find me? Through the internet. It gave me this huge, it levels the playing field for all of us. And to me, it's just incredible. And I have clients who just don't get it, or just don't really spend any time on their website or social media presence. And to me, it's such a missed opportunity, guys. We have a growing, thriving business because of the internet. And, I can tell you, being an entrepreneur is the most exciting thing in the world. I get to do what I love every day. On the other hand, I'm out front, so there is no one in front of me to take the punches. And sometimes there are people who try to throw punches at you. I do know that we did great. 2007, 2008 was fantastic, and I don't know if you guys remember, but the stock market crashed the year of 2008. And then you know what hit the fan. And if you think anybody wanted to spend money on video content, you're out of your mind. They were too scared to even make payroll, let alone invest in marketing. And I remember losing projects suddenly over a couple $100. I mean, literally $200. They know we can't do it. And things got really hard, really fast. And before that, I had always just relied on my faith and magic. And Craigslist was fantastic. Every time I needed a job, I'm telling you, the phone would just ring. I'd get word of mouth, repeat business. 2009, that was not enough. And so Christina had to kind of learn and grow a little more and start marketing and start selling. So learning how to sell is a huge part of your career. And you're fooling yourself if you don't think you're going to have to sell every step of the way. So get comfortable with it. Get comfortable talking to strangers. It's not easy, but I had to start going to networking events. And you know what? It does work, but it's not going to be fast. I call it the seed time and harvest thing. Every time you meet someone at a networking event, you're planting a seed. And it will reap a harvest for you one day, but it takes time. Another thing that changed in 2009 was I met a man named Francis McGovern who did something called search engine optimization. Are you guys familiar with what that is? Anybody? So basically, it's optimizing a website with keywords. It's building content around particular keywords and searches that are going to rank in Google. And it was really just perfect timing because we were redesigning our website. So again, timing being everything. And I happened to meet this man who needed to have some video work done. So we happened to partner together, and we started a new service called social media marketing, which was using social media, which was using SEO, which was using blogging, which was using video content to help drive the traffic to a website and then convert that traffic once they arrived. And so we started bringing on interns. Actually, Sarah Good was our very first intern. And you know what? She hit the ground running. She had to set up all of our social media channels. She had to do all of our blogging for us. And by the end of 2011, we had our best year ever. We doubled that in 2012. In 2012, I applied for, there's a company called Regis, which does corporate identity. And they provide office space for small businesses, so we can get these large kind of corporate addresses. But it's like a bunch of small businesses are kind of sharing office space. Does that make sense to you guys? So we're not paying for the whole thing, we're just paying for our little office. And I applied for it. They were doing a small business for the year. And all I remember is I was filling the application online, and I didn't really care. And I just started by saying, Skillman Video Group is a full-service video production company, and blah, 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 blah. And I had the thought, this is boring, okay? Christina, don't tell them what you do. Tell them who you are. Nobody cares that I'm another video producer. There's another million of them. Do you know what was interesting to these people? Was the fact that I started my business out of my bedroom, posting on Craigslist. That I had the courage to go out on my own. And they read that story, and they said, this is the kind of person I want to work with. And they gave us free office space for an entire year. And we had our choice of any office in all of Massachusetts. And they chose us out of all of New England. They chose Skillman Video. And you want to know why? It's because of our story. Your story is going to be what sells people on you. It's going to be what sells people on your product. Don't just tell people what you can do. Who are you? That's what's going to be what interests people. That's what's going to get people the job. How can you help someone else? Does that make sense to you guys? And that was a huge opportunity. So now we have office space in Canton Hall. I'm paying for it now. It is no longer free. That ran out. But it was, again, perfect timing because we started signing clients that really required us to have a meeting place. And it's such a great location, and we sign a lot of clients from out of town, and everyone knows Canton Hall. Really over here, they know Canton Hall. So it's really a godsend. And now we had to redesign our website last year. Like, you always got to be changing. You always got to be staying ahead of the curve and trying to tell your story. And that's really what we focus on, is helping tell our clients stories. So it's been really, challenging. It was hard in 2009. It was hard, and I had a choice to pack it in and just go find a job and move home with mom and dad. But I was like, I just couldn't do it. As hard as this business can be sometimes, it's changed my life. The people I've gotten to meet, the things I've gotten to do. So I encourage you, if you have a dream, just go do it. And it will be the hardest thing you've ever done, but it will be worth it. So that's my pitch for you on entrepreneurship. I don't know if you guys have any questions regarding either video production or online marketing or starting your own business or anything like that.
I'm just wondering, I'm teaching in the language theater and conference department, and it's a department that offers a journalism and writing degree, and one of the key components of that is poetry and study of literature as well and all of that. And I'm wondering, how do you think work in creative writing can help people who are working in that marketing angle of things, either on the in the use of social media or in videography and that sort of thing as well?
It is huge. I think writing is a dying art form, guys. Like, tweeting and stuff like that is actually not helping you. I'm always appalled when we do applications for positions or interns, and I get cover letters that they can't write.
Lowercase i's.
For God's sakes, you've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to, you write a blog post, it's got to be interesting. And you've got to be able to think strategically. Like, you're not just writing ideas for the sake of writing ideas, it's got to have a purpose. So being able to think strategically about what kind of content you're writing and why, and then to be able to express that in a way that's going to be interesting, because the best search engine optimization in the world, if you're driving all this traffic to your website and then it's not well written, your blog has a bunch of spelling errors in it, or it's just bad writing, it's not interesting.
What about the use of figurative language and metaphor and simile and that sort of thing? Would you say that is useful to have a good grasp of?
Have a good grasp of English language in general. Because even in a video, you're writing a script for a video, if you can tell a good story, I actually hired someone as a copywriter who is a playwright by trade. He's won awards he's an actor. And I just find that his use of the English language, and he's able to take, complex theories, finance. We did a whole bunch of videos about finance, which is boring as heck, but we had to make it interesting, right? It is. Don't take that out. But the way that you could phrase it was really, not everyone can do that. And I personally find that a skill that I want. You can take boring information sometimes, but turn it in such a way that it's pleasant to read. It's very beneficial for people, because not only, if they're smart, they're going to put content in there that Google's going to like, but then it has to be the way that the people landing on your site is going to want to read. Because if they bounce, it doesn't go good. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
So I'm a big component in writing. I really believe in it.
My question to you is, how did you get different individuals to like believe in you and your work that you do without them even knowing you personally or knowing anything about you? Like, what did you do to really get people to believe in you and your work and want to go to you for you to do this work?
That's a good question. I think I've always believed in myself. Perhaps that's, I don't mean that to sound cliche, but I believe I can. Does that make sense to you? I mean, I honestly did. And people are going to know if you're lying. They can smell fear on you a mile away. But when you know this is what you're supposed to be doing, they want to work with you. I've honestly found that people want to help you. But I also take that seriously. So when people help me, I'm not going to fall through, I'm not going to play gash. Like, their name is now on the line with mine. And I take that very seriously. It's important to me that my name is good. And if you're going to attach your name to mine, it needs to be mutually beneficial. Does that make sense? People respond to that. So to me, that's something internal. And certainly having faith as well is helpful because I felt God was in this with me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that gives you a certain level of confidence too, that other people maybe don't have.
So you also explained as well that everything you have or do, you always want to see the big picture. And even though you were going through the phase of 2009 with the financial crisis, how was that helpful for you to succeed and move on?
It was huge because fear makes people want to stop. Fear puts people in survival mode. And when you are in faith, you actually can see opportunities. So fear wants you to shut down. You've got to make the choice to say we're going to spread out because there's an opportunity there. Other companies are shrinking back, and I'm saying we're going to go out. And so I invested in doing the website over. Other companies would not have spent the money, but I saw that as an opportunity. I invested in time and as much resources as I had in developing that website over the next 2 years. So that breakthrough that came in by 2011 was not an accident. Again, that's seed time and harvest. That's 2 years of us planting seeds. That's 2 years of us networking. That's 2 years of us meeting people. That's 2 years of I believed in what we were selling. And that's another thing. People aren't going to buy from you if you don't believe. And I knew that video on the web was the future. I knew that online marketing was going to be where it's at. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. And
so I was able to, even though everything around me was saying, no one's buying right now, I knew that they would. And so that, the success that we're having now is a direct result of the work that was done in the tough times. So tough times make you want to give up and shrink back. Don't. But you also have to believe in what you're doing. And I did. I knew that what we were doing was good. If I didn't believe in it, it was too hard. I would have had to stop. Does that make sense?
How did you sell yourself to these people? Knowing in the beginning you said that you didn't have much experience and know-how, or you didn't know too much. How did you sell yourself to get them to trust in you and to give you the opportunity to gain experience?
That's a really good question, and I wish I had like a pat answer for you. I think I honestly knew that I could do it if they could just give me a chance. And these people liked me. So that's kind of an intrinsic thing. It's not like a formula. Does that make sense? So when people like you, and I could sell myself. So if I come to a meeting, I'm dressed professionally. My hair is done. And I'm on time. And if they send me an email, I respond. If they call me, I get back to them. Little things like that make them feel safe. If I blow them off, if they call me and I don't get back to them, or I don't email, or my email's filled with typos and all these other things that we're talking about, it's not well written, I presented myself very well. Does that make sense? So they looked at me as someone who, she doesn't have that much experience, but I think I believe that she can do it. And to be honest, the first people who hired me were women. They were women who wanted to give me a shot. The first client who ever hired me went to Syracuse University herself. And so she said, I want to help another SU grad. Does that make sense? So, you know, the men didn't start hiring me until later. The women hired me first and gave me my shot. Does that help?
Can I add to that too? Because I think it's bringing that piece where you did that documentary too. So there was something that you could show people because you saw it as a connection from one experience to help you with your business. And I think internship experience, et cetera, can also help root that you have some experience to go into
If
that.
I didn't have that award, I don't think they would have hired me. So I needed to have something.
So you just made a documentary.
I made a documentary.
And just posted it.
So I worked at a cable access TV station. So I actually showed it there, of course, and I sent it out to all the other cable access stations in the area. Yeah, I kind of just made it happen.
I have a question. I've actually done in the past, like I was a vocational student, so I'm certified in media technology and all that stuff, and I've like won awards like that. And I'm starting up my own company for video graphics and like motion graphics and all those things. Do you have any advice for me, like as in, like if I ever, because I'm doing it right now as a part-time type of thing, like, and I hear your story, it's very similar to mine, and I've always, like, ever since I was like probably 10, like when I came to America, that's been my dream, to be able to like do all those things for graphics and television and all those things. What advice do you have to give me? Because sometimes I do feel like, because I'm already certified in media technology and like I know what to do already, and let's just say I have a really good foundation on the whole type of thing to do. What would you say as advice to keep going through college? Because sometimes I do feel like stopping college and going full time with with my
Well, I believe in education, so I want to tell you to get your degree. You might regret it later.
Yeah.
And don't always think you have to do everything right now. Okay, things can come to you when it's the right time.
Yeah.
I do believe in timing. So I think I would encourage you, personally. So, but the other hand, don't allow fear to stop you from doing something that you feel is right for you either. You know? So I think you have to think of yourself as a business person first, if you can. So when I was starting out, I really discounted my services like it was a joke what I was charging people. But I knew I had to get some work on my resume, right? But I didn't do that forever. And I was always very good about people paying me. That sounds like a small thing, but a lot of times people do not want to pay you. They're going to try, especially if you're creative, they're going to try and drag it out as much as they can or try to like weasel. But you have to stick to your guns. You are worth it. And people will respect that if you respect that about yourself. And sometimes you have to put up those boundaries, say, I will not do any more work until you pay, right? So I would just say give it time and, you know, market yourself. People are going to know that you're here. So if you're still in school, get an internship somewhere at TV or wherever. Learn some stuff about the business. There might be a lot about running a business you don't know yet. And if you want to start doing stuff for TV, that's a whole, or movies or something like that?
It's kind of mixed. So I do most of it, all of it actually.
Are you already taking in clients?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I've already worked on a TV show, and I've been their technical director and all that stuff. So I have a really good foundation on it. That's what I was trying to say.
So just keep going.
That's what I get nervous because I don't feel confident enough to say like I want to finish school, and I really do want to finish school, but I already have like all these doors open, and I'm doing it part-time, and it's like my passion is not, like, I guess you can say like my passion is not being, you know, not wasting my time, but spending time on something that I already know how to do, type of thing. So it's kind of like in the mix.
How much longer do you have in school?
Well, I'm a freshman.
Oh my God, you already got that far then?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. I think there are things that school can teach you that are very useful tools to you, to be honest with you. And you still need to grow a lot as a person, and college kind of gives you that opportunity.
Yeah.
So part of me wants to say that opportunity will still be there. If it's right for you, it will still be there when you're done. That's pretty hard to turn out too. I wish as a freshman I had that kind of opportunity. I did not. So congratulations, that sounds exciting.
I just want to ask, other than about the technical aspects, there's so many aspects to producing a film. I mean, just from writing the scripts, and what do you do about actors? Do you have your own staff? Do you use the same casting agencies like Boston Casting that commercial people use? Or how do you do that? Do you film clients? Do you go on site to their corporations? Do you have your studios? I'm just interested in that aspect.
So the interesting thing about what I do is, yes, it's creative, but the more technical we are, the more creative I can be, because there is a very technical side to it, as far as not just knowing how to work with the equipment and the lighting here, but the editing and all the software and bits and bobs and that. So it takes, I think, a special kind of person that can both be technical and be creative and a storyteller at the same time. You know, one of the things I've had to learn is that I can't do it all. For example, in 2011, we got slammed with so much work, and it was just me, and it was really stressful and overwhelming. And so I had to start trusting to delegate that work. And I started finding that there are people who are better at it. And some of those motion graphics and stuff are really, like the keyframing and and some people love it, and they're faster. So I started outsourcing that and bringing people on. Our intern pool has been fantastic as far as finding people who can come work for us. And I like it because they've been indoctrinated into film in a good way. Does that can make sense? Like, they know how we like to, how we think about the world and how we tell stories. So we're not doing films for motion pictures per se. We are working in the marketing sphere, so it's usually B2B. So other businesses are hiring us. So, you know, these people have stories too, and it's our job to kind of come in and find out what their story is. So even if they're a small painting company, you know, they have a story. They have something that they do that no one else does, and it's our job to find out what that is. So, you know, we'll come in and do the scripting for them. I have contractors for shooters that I've been working with some of them for years. As a small business, that gives us flexibility to you know, we just had 2 weeks of shooting over at MIT every day. MIT. This week, we didn't have any shoots. So it kind of gives me that flexibility to say, like, we're busy, you know, take the week off. Does that make sense to you? And there's also different equipment that they might have that is appropriate given any kind of given shoot.
So you contract out for certain aspects of the production, like the filming.
Yes. I'm there most of the time. I'm directing, I'm producing, and working with the client. But when I first started, I did it all, okay? I did the lighting, I did the shooting, I did the editing, I did the scripting, and it's just more that I can. So finding those good people, that's hard for any business. But you've got to find the talented, responsible.
So you have a kind of stable of people that you would call on for different jobs.
Mm-hmm. We also do like web design and some branding work too, so I don't do that. I don't know how to build a website. So I hire a graphic designer or a WordPress developer or something.
What about for actors, for people like the woman who was in there? I mean, I assume that was an actor, not a real business. Or was that the real businesswoman?
No, she was actually a great actor. So the vast, if you go to our website, you go to the portfolio page, the vast majority of these people are actually business owners. I kind of believe in authenticity.
Okay.
So if we're selling your business, I think the people coming to your site need to see you.
Okay.
Because that's what we're selling you. Okay. This was kind of a concept that we thought would be different for us to do from other video content that we've done. So this is a little bit unusual for us. But we have used paid actors which are great to work with because they know their lines and they can actually, it's so hard working with normal people. It's very painful, to be honest. So, you know, sometimes you do have paid actors. But most of the time, if you're doing marketing content or social media content or something like that for a company, you don't want paid actors.
You want to see their faces.
Them.
Yeah. So you have to somehow make them able to do it.
You have to be able to do it. It's challenging, but fun, you know?
I have one more question,
Yeah.
and then maybe we can wrap it up so students can get to class. How would you advise students on working for a bigger company for an internship or a smaller, or do you have any leanings towards how students try to find opportunities?
Well, I think the good thing about working for a big company is you get some cachet on your resume. Does that make sense? Like, it just looks really good. A small business owner myself, I'm perhaps more partial to looking at a smaller business, you know, like you can have Stephen talk about that or Sarah talk about that because they were doing the work. They were doing the blogs. They were posting on social media. They were making video content for us. A big corporation, I don't think you're doing that. I think you're sitting at a desk or you're filing paperwork or I don't know. Like, we're investing. We're meeting with these kids every week, and we're teaching them how to do SEO. We're teaching them how to, and they're doing it. And it's visible. It's on our website. It's impactful. They're coming out on client shoots with us and seeing how we do it. And they're helping with the lights, and they're taking pictures of the shoot, and they're posting about the shoot and blogging about the shoot. That, to me, I wish I had an internship like that. So I would think a smaller company might be able to give more hands-on experience, which is kind of more meat and potatoes for your resume. You can then say, I've actually done this work. But on the other hand, when you have, you work for like Accenture or something like that, that looks pretty gosh darn good too. And they might have more opportunity to actually give you a job out of college. So it depends on your field and what you want out of your career. I mean, like when I took my first job, I specifically chose a smaller place because I wanted hands-on. And if I went to a big broadcast TV station, I would have been getting coffee for people. You know what I mean? And I did not want that. Then I wanted to have my own business one day. So you have to be strategic about what your next move is and always be thinking long-term.
Well, thank you, Christina, for coming.